Okay, just to wrap up our introduction to the Cinema 4D interface, there's just a few things I want to go over. First of all, below the view screen, you'll see a timeline, and there are several icons and different tools within the timeline. We're not going to cover that right now. We might get to some animation later in the course. However, at this point, at this stage of the game, I'm not going to even address anything about animation or what's in here. In the under the timeline, in the lower right under the viewport, is this little section here, and this stuff should look familiar. It's the same kind of stuff that's in the attribute manager. So we have the position of the object, the size of the object, and the rotation. And it's the same thing, same info you can access in the attribute manager. Just one little difference is they put the size, position, rotation in the same view level, and in the attribute manager you have to click between coordinates and objects. But anyway, it's the same data. If I change the position of my object, the readout for X is going to be the same as the readout for X here. If I change the rotation of my object, the value for the rotation here is going to be the exact same as here. This is just more convenient for doing animation, I believe, is why they put that there. Me personally, I use the attribute manager for that stuff. This blank long horizontal space beneath the timeline, what the heck is that? This is the materials manager, which we will use extensively in this course. And any color or texture that we apply to our objects, which I'm not going to do right now, but we will do later, will appear here. All textures and colors and so on and so forth are going to appear in this materials manager, and it's where we can access them and modify them and change colors and change textures, and it's one big happy party. But I'm not going to cover that right now. Just know that this is the materials manager. Okay, left side vertically, going up and down the workspace here. These are not tools per se. They are modes, different modes that we choose that let us interact with the objects differently. And it sounds like a mouthful, but it's not as hard as I'm making it sound. Just know for now that there's this funny looking couple of spheres up here, which I'll talk about in future videos very quickly here. But underneath it, there's a cube, and if we hit the drop-down menu next to it, we see Model, Object, Animation. And we're not going to be dealing with animation mode, but just make sure you're in model mode. And I'll cover this this stuff here. I'll cover this in a future video, so just hang tight. Up above are the tools, and we've used a couple of them. And then above the tool icons is the main menu. The one thing I want to point out in closing here is that every section of the interface has a menu bar. So the viewport has a menu bar for view, cameras, display, etc., etc. I will go over some of those things. The object manager has its own menu bar. The attribute manager has its menu bar. Okay, so there's as I'm instructing this course, I'll give specific thing. I'll say menu, go to the view menu in the viewport, or whatever, So Just know that there's different menus for each section, major section that we covered, and that's about it for the basic interface introduction. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to move and manipulate objects.